Unbecoming to Becoming.
What's up, people? We're back with
Hey.
another webinar through the Purpose Engine. This is one of our most enlightening, one of the most energetic, one of the most fun coaches in our program, and it's a pleasure to have her on. This is her first webinar. She has a couple more coming in later on in the month and next month. So also look out for the roundtables that she's shooting. It's a whole ordeal. But I'm going to leave her space to introduce herself, and then we're going to get into the topic of unbecoming to becoming. So Nazneen, please take the floor.
Thank you, CJ. I'm super excited. So I'm super excited to be a part of this team. Since I was very young, I've always known that I was meant to help others. And that started off when I was working in healthcare as a nurse, nursing leadership, transitioned into a sales manager role with the health and wellness space. And in between that, I did some improv, comedy, acting. And through that whole journey, there's a lot of just personal development, self-discovery. I've learned a lot of tools that I've used to work on myself through the challenges that I've been through. And then I recently just left an investment management firm. And through the self-discovery process, just realized, how can I serve more people? And that is through life and business consulting. And you came into my life during a really important time, and your whole mission, we're just aligned in general with our vision of helping more people together, like
Yeah.
as a community. And I'm so blessed that I joined you guys. Yeah, and like we can help more people. So
Yeah, I'm
super,
excited.
super excited. Very grateful.
So let's go through your discovery so we can tap into the topic of today, because I think a lot of people are probably in that situation and trying to figure out how to get out of where they are to, reprogram who they were taught to be, right? Or spoken to be. So let's kind of dive into that, and then we'll
Love
go
that.
into our, you know, top tips and topics and tangible takeaways.
So, unbecoming to becoming. I feel like that in general is something that's I'm consistently doing as things come up. I like to say that we have these boxes in like in our attic that we may not open, that we may not have opened, and things come up, things present themselves to you. To then you need to open that box and work through that, and that's where unbecoming what you were either programmed at a young age due to traumatic events or challenges that you faced, whether that's cultural programming, societal programming, your own personal negative self-talk programming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just and that's something that I've consistently worked on. But just recently, like coming out of a relationship, I was recently divorced, and that was a whole another process of opening a very big box to work through to unbecome what I became in that relationship from my own, my own choosing, my own
Yeah.
choices.
So what were you before you decided that you were in a stage of unbecoming? Because you already have a lot of energy. You're very lighthearted, very caring, a fantastic networker. So how did you go from that to unbecoming, and now you've transitioned back to becoming?
So it's definitely it's like a balance where sometimes you can go back into the space where you are reprogrammed into what others or what you were told that you had to be,
Yeah.
right? And that can come from a few different ways. So, and I hopefully I'm answering the question correctly. It was a journey where it was like almost like a pendulum swing, kind of going back and forth, right? And as relationships would present themselves, as challenges would present itself, I would either like become like it's like a pendulum swing, and it's a choice, and it's not right or wrong, but it was really just due to my own personal limiting beliefs. As as I worked on them, I continued to build more and more self confidence around my sense of self and just truly knowing that in my gut is like, this is who I am, and that's okay.
Yeah,
Like trusting myself. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, but
it did. I think one of the things that most people are maybe struggling with is understanding when your body is telling you something, you have to listen to it.
mm,
Most times when we're uncomfortable or unannounced to understanding what that voice sounds like or what that feels like, they decide to go with what they think is right. Right? And we talk about heart versus mind. You think you know what's right, but your heart knows what's truly, truly right to you. So the question I want to ask our audience is, are there situations in your life where you feel like your head is telling you something, but your heart is telling you something different? And which one's more important in that situation? Going back to what you said about the pendulum and also the balancing act,
mhm,
one has to outweigh the other for you to actually have complete certainty to make a decision to go with that thing, right? And we talk a lot about the importance of being extremely clear in your path and where you go or where you want to go with your goals, with the people that you connect with the people that you have a connection so deep that you end up telling them deep, dark secrets that you expect them to hold that dearly to you, right? So for us, we've developed the mindset to be able to understand when our heart is talking and when our head is talking. And
mm,
usually when your heart is talking, it's things that is controversial to what your head is telling you because most times when we're in our head, we end up going opposite of what our true goals are telling us to go to.
mm,
And again, going back to complete certainty, when you're in complete certainty, you move in the direction of what you feel is right. But understanding the question that you also have to understand is this in alignment to the steps I need to take to reach my fullest potential or impact more people rather than just myself?
100%.
What would you add to
And
that?
so there's a lot of layers there. I would say like all of that is correct. I think one piece of advice someone gave me that was really powerful was this whole idea of like, oh, I'm concerned, like, how do I know this is the right choice, right?
Hmm.
And there is no right or wrong, but this was so powerful. It hit me. It was like, how are you gonna know in general if you don't take that step, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of mistrusting oneself. So what can happen, and this is what happened with me, is you can be like out of sync. Did you lose me? Hello? Did you lose me? Hello? Did you lose me? Hey, did you lose me? Are we on? Oh, okay. Can you hear me? No. Technical challenges. I'm just laughing. No. Okay. We're having technical challenges. Let's see.
What tools are you swimming in this defeat? You're not swimming in frustration. You're not
There you go.
swimming in anxiety. So go ahead. Sorry, continue your point. I was just telling our audience to drop a question that or
Cool.
answer to the question.
Thanks. So funny enough, it was actually my mom. My mom called me multiple times. That's probably what was delayed.
No, no worries.
Okay, so I was talking about, so you won't know, right? You don't know until you make that choice. Now, getting disconnected with your own gut and your own intuition happened, and it happened to me. Because what was happening within, let's say, certain conversations or in certain relationships, you're listening to you listen to other people's opinions and projections instead of following your intuition and your gut. Due to your own limiting beliefs, your own negative self-talk, you're not following your gut, and then making that choice consistently, it totally reframes your ability to connect in with your intuition and to
Mm,
know, like, with your heart center, right? So that was a process that I recently had to go through because I was in misalignment. I wasn't trusting my own gut
yeah,
from, you know.
that's a good point. I think it brings to the idea of like when you're fighting against your intuition, sometimes the universe, God, I believe in God, will smack you in the face to show you
Mm.
that you're on the wrong path,
Yeah.
right? Because we understand that there's a destination, even if it's a goal, a dream, an aspiration, you have that there. But the things that you're making a decision about isn't correlating to how you get there. If it's not, it'll be known
Yeah.
because energy is inevitable. So because your energy is focused on the goal and the dream, but you're focused on what you don't have or what you're going through, it's going to cause you to go underneath the goal rather than reaching the goal, right? Your energy has to go up and meet this place rather than it coming down to you because it doesn't work to that way. What was that moment for you? Because I remember we talked a little bit about that, and you kind of sat around a lake or something like that. I'll let you tell it better than I do, but I really want
Oh
to talk
yeah.
about that point. Yeah.
So this story applies to many moments in my life. However, this particular moment was, so I moved from California to Lake Nona, Florida,
Okay.
right? And I was walking outside of our house. We have this beautiful pond, and I was pausing, taking deep breaths, and in that moment, it I saw a bird pass by, and it was like I couldn't see clearly until that moment. Like I had just put some corrective lenses on, and it was a very big aha moment for me. Like, wow, I am in massive misalignment, like
Yeah.
massive misalignment, and I'm not following my gut because there was just so much chaos going on, and it was blurred, like my vision was blurred,
Yeah.
and then I put those corrective glasses on, and I'm like, it was a glimmer of, I know I'm in misalignment. Where do I go from here, right?
Yeah. I had a similar situation where we had the same epiphany, and I think I addressed that with you as well. I was sitting at a lake and I was really going through a lot of turmoil, frustration, confusion, disgust, disappointment in myself, right? And I went to this particular lake and it had four levels to it, right? Mind you, I'm in a space of I'm working really hard. I'm not being lazy. I'm making connections. I'm making opportunities for others. And one of the questions that kind of been tickling at me was, am I doing enough? Am I enough? So when had the opportunity to sit at that fountain, there's four levels to it. So now you got the base, you got the middle base. It has little tubes on the side where water is pouring out of those tubes as well. Then you have the layer where the tubes, yeah, and then on the top, the water is coming from the top.
Mm-hmm.
I was meditating. I was listening to my thoughts. I was feeling the emotions, and something told me to open my eyes. And when I opened my eyes, it said, "You are enough. You're more than enough." And the reason why that hit me because the water was going through all of the tunnels. Every piece had enough water so that it overflowed. It overflowed all the way to the ground, right? And that changed my perspective in an instance because it allowed a situation to remind me that your correlation is correlated to this fountain. The fountain of Johnston is doing enough to overflow in other compartments of your life. How do you do that though? How do you do that? You get extremely clear with your vision, your mission, your purpose. You get extremely clear on how and who to connect with. You get extremely clear to get connected with the right people that can help you do that, a community, a program, a mentor, a coach. No pun intended. Again, I'm always going to be biased because I feel like we're the best program. But even if it's not us, get somebody that is going to correlate you to who you truly are. Your highest potential is within you. You think it's farther than you think.
Hmm.
What if we were
Preach.
to think you're so silly. What if our idea of success is a lot closer than we think?
Mm.
What if we think that our idea of our fullest potential is a lot closer than we think? It comes down to
Mm.
one decision, it comes down to one connection, it comes down to one relationship, it comes down to one phone call, it comes down to one thing, but also in between that one thing, you have to make this decision to go towards that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's within the two. We talked about this preparing for this conversation. It's unbecoming to becoming, right? Before you become, you have to go through a journey of the two and understand and be aware of where you are at the second. The moment you're brutally honest
With
to
yourself.
who you are and with yourself
Yeah.
will determine the journey that you take. It ignite and fuel the journey that you take so that you can get to the becoming part of your life.
Hmm.
And that's difficult. What would you add to that?
Yeah, you can't even get to the becoming part, right? Until the unbecoming and being aware of like sitting with your thoughts. And many people, I wrote about this, like I like to journal. Some people, I also like to talk through my thoughts. So I'll do some voice memos, but sorting through what are my, like, what am I thinking? Like, what am I saying to myself?
Yeah.
Right? And sitting with that and then also working through it with me and then not, you said not sitting in the pain for so long, right? So what happened like with me is I was in this space of consistently like the negative self-talk and then just being in the pain, like, and the pain, it's like how I would describe it is like it's like being in a bubble of like like a cloud. It's like you're in a cloud of pain and you're like lacking awareness of anything around you, but you can't become anything because you're still in this in the cloud of chaos and fog, right?
Yeah.
So, and you said it was just one choice away, and it's being okay with where you're at, but then not staying in there like forever.
Yeah.
Like you're
Exactly.
like the way I was talking to a friend yesterday, I was like, there's this meme of like there's someone's like he's like I'm drowning, and he's like in shallow water, and
I
there's
actually
this.
used that analogy today.
There's like all these people around, like, what are you doing, dude? Like, stand up. Uh,
Yeah.
but you're unaware of that because you're stuck in the cloud. Now, it's like you said, it's just one choice away. And I can't pinpoint the exact choice. It was a series of choices that were uncomfortable for me,
That's good.
like massively uncomfortable. Like I joke about this and people like about my burn, right? Like I said, like I burned I didn't actually burn myself, but it's like the universe or God like burned me to wake me up. Like, well, you're too like get uncomfortable again. Like
Yeah.
you got to get uncomfortable again, and you got to lean into the discomfort.
Yeah.
And that's where it was a compounding. It was choices I made that were uncomfortable, that helped
Yeah.
with the unbecoming. So.
That's so good. One thing that I believe I've had multiple conversations. Today I've been booked with meetings and I've had conversations like micro coaching sessions to help people because that's my goal. I want to help people leave every conversation with a piece of note or a piece of knowledge or nugget that can help them immediately, right? Meeting them where they are so they can use it immediately. And I had a conversation here at Z with a guy that I've met a while ago, And I just felt his energy just depleted. He felt disappointed. He felt confused. He felt unaware. He just didn't understand where it was coming from, stemmed from a situation that happened for him. And we got to the point of him explaining how he feels when certain things happen. And for example, maybe it's he's the unsolicited reach out, like somebody reaching out to him, and he's like, "Well, I love that because I felt important, right?" So I asked him. I said, "Joe, for this, the lack of better terms, hey Joe, what does it look like when Joe shows up with for Joe?"
Hmm.
He was stuck. He was confused. Why? Because he never thought about that. Most times when we're going through things is because we're looking to validate a situation that is unresolved. It is unresolved because you don't want to face the
Ooh.
consequences of what it feels like to go
Mm.
from unbecoming to the two is the most important piece of why you have to go through that slap in the face because we're trying to pivot you. That's what the universe is saying. That's what God is saying. I'm trying to pivot you to show you the plans that I have for you. But
Mhm.
because you're stuck in your head and you're not going with your gut and your heart, you're gonna suffer. Now,
Mm.
who else that affects? Your
Everybody
family,
around you.
your friends,
Mhm.
your ecosystem, your workers, your business, your partnerships, your relationships. You don't mean to, but energy is contagious. What if you are operating your fullest potential now before you get to your fullest potential? That's the difference, Nazneen. I'm sure you're going to touch on this shortly. But understanding that if we were to rewire our brain to understand the future is not far away, we become the future now so that when the future is here, we're looking for more.
Already there.
But once we get there, we're not living in unfulfillment. We're living in fulfilled bliss.
Mm.
Fulfilled bliss means if I get it, if I don't get it, I'm satisfied
Mm.
because I'm operating in love. I'm operating out of a place of authenticity and genuine connection.
Mm.
Connection to my future self right now. Right? What would you add to that?
Ooh, so many layers. So, what is important is really working on your mindset. So, like, that's that's one of the most important factors. I think people focus a lot on physical activity. That's great. I think getting in your body is wonderful to help get out of your head. But working on mindset consistently is really what the two where a lot of the work is. And that's where I spent a lot of time. I've spent a lot of time in,
Mm.
okay? And
Mm-hmm.
really being clear on, okay, what am I telling myself? Like you said, you're just one step away from becoming that version of you that you're already there, right? You're already there. So really work on your mindset to be clear on, hmm, this is who I thought I was, or this is what I was told I was. This is not who I am. And being
Mm-hmm.
consistent with that and having those tools to have some good self-talk affirmations. There's several different tools that you can utilize, but being consistent with it and being clear that this is who I am and being confident in that. And you said seeking outside validation. So, I mean, those are all really, really important things to talk about. That's
Yeah.
all comes down to confidence in yourself, self-esteem, right? And working on that to have the self-love that's necessary where you don't need it from anybody else. That's having unwavering belief in yourself and this whole like I don't care what other people think, like still spreading love and light and being kind, but being so secure with yourself that it's like it doesn't affect you.
Yeah. That's so good. A lot of layers in that too. We have to really digest and
Mm,
undiscover or not undiscover, unpack the mentality around
mm,
what growth really feels like.
Hmm.
Because I'm sure you experienced with some of your clients that they just don't know what to do. There's so many opportunities for them to change because they actually do know the answers. They just want that outside validation from somebody to help them feel validated. But what we're doing is we're transforming their mentality about having someone there for them to make a decision. Why can't you make that decision for yourself if you know the answers to the problem or you know the solution to the issue? It comes down to confidence. If it didn't work before, why not try something else? Just because it didn't work the first time does not mean it won't work again. It wasn't time for it to work. Maybe you have to learn some more in that situation. Maybe you had to figure out some things, but you weren't aware enough. But once that epiphany hit, just like when you saw that bird and I saw that fountain, and maybe for the audience, they have a kid tell them out of nowhere, or somebody come, you tell her, hey, listen,
You never know.
some told me to tell you you're on your path, but you're making bad decisions. Why does it take somebody to say that and you feel the uncomfortable space that you don't want to get out of, but because it's uncomfortable, you're comfortable,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
If it's so, for example, because you don't have the solution, you feel like it's more comfortable to be uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable for growth, but uncomfortable because it's comfortable to just be the victim. You rather do the pity party. You rather talk about all this stuff to people and then they end up not supporting you in your decisions and helping you get past that growth. That stage of you being stuck and being shallow in the water and you're trying to looking for help or looking for support. But why does it take that? Why? Because
Hmm.
you haven't discovered who you truly are at its core root and what you desire to want.
Hmm. For me, what's coming up is why is that required? Why is there a slap in the face? Why some for me at least, it's being so caught up in it's a lack of awareness. Like the core of it is a lack of awareness so that you're not able to truly see the signs, to really truly be connected in with what like to even be in alignment because there's just so much noise and
Yeah.
you're stuck in that bubble. So how could you possibly see the signs, like it's just a massive lack of awareness.
So how do we find those things? How do we find self-awareness? What are some tangible takeaways that we could do to do that?
So just to be clear, this is something I still consistently work on. You know,
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
so for me, breathing, like taking a deep breath. We talked about this yesterday when we were doing our behind the scene footage I'm like very excited to see the footage afterwards. So just taking a deep breath. And the other thing is journaling. Journaling helps me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe this whole idea of coaches need coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And checking in with yourself because having accountability is really important. Having
Mm-hmm.
accountability for you can have accountability for yourself, but because let's say you're lacking awareness, we don't often see ourselves. we we can't see ourselves. So it's important to have somebody to hold you accountable
Mm-hmm.
and do the homework, right? Which I'm grateful that CJ has been, see, I've been a part of the Purpose Engine and you guys have introduced us to the homeworks that we have on Slack
Mm-hmm.
for the different clients. So that's where the homework comes in. Meditation's great, breath work, journaling. For me, moving my body is very important. So
Yeah.
I love dancing. I dance alone a lot of times in my apartment. And this, and again, there's a pendulum swing. So what's important is also being okay with where sometimes we can get really down on ourselves because we're not, oh, well, like with me, like this perfectionism thing where, oh, I have to be perfect or I'm not doing this the right way. Like right or wrong is irrelevant. It's like, what is true to you? What feels good for you?
Yeah. How do you know it's good for you though?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, how do I know it's good for you? How do I know it's good for me? I you don't I would say you don't know until you make the choice again. Like if you're in this if you're in this unawareness stage still, like you're in the two stage and we're like you're not trusting, let's say yourself with the action you're going to take, you taking the action will tell you, okay, this was right or wrong, learn from it and then move on.
Hmm.
Okay, and then at some point you'll get to a point where you feel that this is the right choice for myself.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the entrepreneurship piece of self awareness and how it affects your business and its growth and its expansion. And
Mm-hmm.
also I want to touch on the base with from people that's working in the corporate world and their self awareness and their lack of confidence in themselves to end up getting promoted or be an entrepreneur, right? When me and Robert talked about this yesterday that there's two different approaches when it comes to your initial placement, your environment.
Mm-hmm.
One has a lot of structure built for you, and one you're creating the structure. One, people are telling you what to do and asking you to do certain things. One, you're potentially telling people what to do to execute. One is centered around other coworkers that may be in your similar situation. Maybe they're in a situation where they don't like it so much, so they give them enough so that they could just get a paycheck. The other is if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you don't eat. So the mindsets are different, but there's correlation somewhere. Where's the correlation? You as the individual. No matter if you're
Yeah.
an entrepreneur or in the corporate space, you have the opportunity to go back to that D word, decision. You have an opportunity to make a decision on what and how you do certain things. If you're unhappy with an employee and you understand that you're not a good person to, handle conflict, why not work on those things? Because if you allow it to slide, it's not going to impact or grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a corporate space, and let's say for this example, you don't have the ability to bring it up to your boss like, hey, I don't like this system. How can I do it? Then there's something in there. Communication.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're not having a good conversation with yourself. And the conversation that you're having with yourself is that, oh, I'm not going to be heard. Oh, now I'm not going to be this. Or they're not going to see my value when I have this conversation. Or they're not going to respect me. Or not. Are you having confidence issues? Why do you not think that you can't have that conversation? Why do you think that why are you so afraid of conflict? Because conflict breeds growth. Conflict breeds conform. It breeds collaboration. It
Mm-hmm.
breeds clear goals and guidance. Even if you don't know how to ask or say those things, bring it up as a question. It's a gentle response to get an answer. Hey Nazneen, the other day you said something that I wasn't really cool about, but I wanted clarity before I assumed that you're attacking me. What did you mean by this? Now we just set the standard for the conversation. Hey, I don't want to be confrontational, but I do want the clarity because I'm uneasy.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: the cost of inaction may be regret, frustration, disappointment, people being disappointed in you, having expectations that they know that you can handle, your potential is on the line, but you don't want to reach it. Cost of inaction, is that worth you not taking action?
Mm.
Have we ever processed that question? Because most times, especially when we have clients that are on the fence of joining our program, on the fence of having a conversation, even a free discovery, people are on the fence of a free discovery to figure out what their pain points are.
Mm-hmm.
Because we ask questions in that discovery to help them see it for themselves. And then we get on a call with them saying, "Hey, I saw that you put a 6 here. Why'd you put a 6?"
Yep.
Like the return on ROI is very important on you for you, but why is the COI not just as important? The cost of an
Yeah.
action.
Okay. Powerful. Powerful. So we had this conversation about choices that I made that were action oriented that could be viewed as negative. Like, oh, this impacted me so negatively. Like, and I was in that space for a little bit even, right?
Yeah,
And but really pausing and realizing like I made these choices for me. Like,
yeah.
like that action, I learned so much by taking that action, but also by taking that action, it created the confidence in knowing that I had the ability to take the action without maybe knowing everything, right?
Mm.
Following your gut. So it's taking that step helped build more and more confidence in this idea of being in alignment and following your gut and then
What
learning.
what or who? Sorry to cut you off. What or who pushed you in that direction? Like, obviously, you going against yourself, you're gonna win every time. The person that has the most certainty in the idea of procrastination, unless your identity and your relationship with uncomfort is different, right? But in that space of you wanting to really prove to yourself that you want to make a decision to grow and pivot from that ideation of who you were at that moment, what, who, what, how, like, what was that moment for you to actually take the steps necessary so that you can be this person now?
It was a series of events, and I would say really just beautiful people who've come into my life and who have pushed me to be a better version of myself, right? And that came from just being able to openly discuss my ideas,
Mm-hmm.
right? The different business ideas and saying, yes, let's do it. Like, we believe in this, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, it's really just comes down to you believing in yourself. You have to believe, like you have to have an unwavering belief in yourself.
Yeah,
Like that's where it, or else you're not gonna do anything. You're not
exactly.
gonna, like it has to come from an unwavering belief in yourself, really. And
But let's play devil's advocate.
yeah,
I'm somebody that knows that I have a potential to grow. I have the potential. I know the future I want. I want the dream life. I want everything to work in my favor. I want to live fruitfully. But there's something in me that's not allowing me to push towards that.
hmm.
Outside of breathing, outside of journaling, I've done all of that. It's not working for me, coach. It's not working for me. What was your steps to going from unbelief to belief?
So my steps were being consistent with how I talked to myself and keeping my word to myself.
Mm,
Like really keeping my word to myself with what I chose to do or
mm-hmm.
what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as like, okay, I want to go to the gym. Like going to the gym, like making sure I go to the gym. That's it may sound simple, but that's one of the steps. Being keeping my word to myself.
Mm,
That's that's kind of a simplistic answer, but that's where it came from. And then
yeah.
being an unwavering belief in myself. Yeah.
The thing is, going back to that COI part, the moment you decide not to do what you said you were going to do, you lose respect for yourself and people lose respect for you
Hmm.
because the energy is contagious.
Yeah.
The moment they see and feel that you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and you say, hey, you should be doing this, doing this, doing this, you're not doing it. Do you even believe in that process? Do you even believe in that idea? Do you even, because you're not, you're not add. It's not adding up. 2 plus 2 is not equal to 4. It's actually equal to 6.
Hmm.
So are your actions that you decide to take or even contemplate has to do with what your identity is with who you want to be,
Correct.
right? It
Yeah.
goes with affirmations, self-talk, right? Are you talking to yourself in a place of rebooting the negative self-talk? Are you being aware and catching it? Because we can go into spirals in our head. And
100%.
most times when we have it in our head, again, we believe it. Ideas start from your brain, dreams start from your brain, conversation starts from your brain, businesses starts from your brain, connection starts from your brain. But knowing if it's the right place to be and right
Mm.
people to connect starts here.
Mm.
So how do we understand the correlation between the two? Because at the end of the day, this has to be stronger than this. Right? In the Bible, I believe in God and Jesus Christ, right? And it says, do not lean on your own understanding because I have the plans for you. In the synopsis, I didn't say it right. But pretty much, don't lean on what you think is right. Go based off
Mm.
of what your intuition and what God is telling you to push you towards. Why? Because He understands your first and where you are currently, to where He wants you to be. You're not becoming the person he had the idea for because He gives us free will.
Mm.
That's so good. Because He gives us, bro. Listen. I'm on a roll, Nazni.
Preach.
Because He's giving us the free will, which means He's giving you the ability to make decisions for yourself because you have two choices. You can be disobedient to yourself or be obedient to yourself because the correlation between the two are not the same, but the thing that's in the middle of it is the journey, right?
What's also important though is there's decisions and then so there's plowing through. Okay. I went to church, thank you for the recommendations, on Sunday, and he was talking about like you plant seeds, right? And being okay with, okay, I planted the seeds and trusting. Like
Mm.
it's like allowing, right? And stopping, like just plowing through. And that was the sermon. He was talking about, okay, you planted the seeds. It was about sleeping.
Yep,
It's
rest.
rest. Because we both know I can work all day long.
Yeah.
So planting the seeds, but that's in general, right? You said he gives you free will to make the choice. One thing that stops people is this, and it stopped me, is if you don't trust your choice.
Mm.
You don't trust your choice. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, like I made, or like you take action and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like, I made the wrong choice. None of your choices were wrong. It may not have felt great in the moment. Okay, reflect on that, learn from it, don't make that choice again. And if you do, it's okay again. Just continue going through. Make it, like you said, inaction is worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then also not like forgiveness. This all comes in, and then it comes
Mm.
to forgiveness. Like
Let's talk
forgiving
about the. Hold up. Oh shoot, we warming up now. 50 minutes into the
forgiveness.
video, now we warming up. All right, think about this. The reason why we fight with ourselves based off of decisions and choices is because we still want control of the outcome we don't have control over.
Oh man, yes.
The control aspect is killing your dreams because you're not taking action because you have this dream of what it should look like, but what if your journey to get to what it should look like would take you somewhere else that will make it better?
Hmm.
It says in the Bible, I will do exceedingly and abundantly above all things that you think of. Pretty much saying, I know what your journey is, I know how to get you there, but I'm giving you free will to either trust the decisions that you feel or not.
Hmm.
But if you decide not to, Just understand, I'm still here with you, right? Your mindset is still with you. Your heart is still with you, but you're more connected to what's not supposed to be. Have you ever been into a situation where you thought it was right and your heart is telling you no and you decide to go with it?
100%.
Business, friendship, relationship, no matter what the case is. And it pans out. And your feelings are but you know something's off
Oh yeah.
until it's too late. Trusting your choice. And on the inverse of what you said, forgiveness.
I can't hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Good. Uh oh. Somebody don't like this.
That's
Somebody don't like this. That's all right.
We're gonna keep pushing through though. Okay,
I
so you're
forgot
talking
what I
about
was.
forgiveness. You said okay, so you're saying um being in so making a choice that you feel is like you feel and you kind of know in your gut is actually not the right choice, let's say. But you still make it and it pans out and then
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you said after that.
Yeah, it pans out. You realize that it's not a good decision because you end up getting hurt. You're crying. You're upset. You're like, why did I go through this? Why me? Why me? Why me? Because you made that
You
decision.
made the choice. You
That's
didn't trust.
why.
Yeah, you but so this is and what's important is within all that forgiveness, okay?
Okay.
Like forgiveness is very important of
Yeah.
yourself in order to move past and of whatever the situation was. Just living in
Yep.
forgiveness.
I remember what I was saying now. Forgiveness is the belief of you relinquishing control of a
Mm,
situation, right? You're okay with the outcome, the circumstances, the consequences of what happened, and now you're willing to forget it and leave it where it is, right? With forgiveness of yourself, it allows you to move forward, but understand that the last situation that caused you to feel what you felt will not be the determining factor of how you feel moving forward.
mhm.
That is what it looks like to grow. Understanding that the difficulties, and it's so cliche. A lot of this stuff is not us reinventing the wheel. It's just set in a different perspective. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're encouraging you to see it in a different perspective. What perspective? The one that fits you. The one that's fitting the conversations that you're having with yourself. The one that's fitting the intuition that's telling you that you're in the wrong space. The one that's telling your brain to tell you, hey, I don't think like that. Right? Going back to what we talked about earlier, the tangible takeaways. The things that I teach my client is when you have a negative condensation around anything, the first thing you say is it's not true.
It's a lie.
It's a lie. Why is it a lie? Because you said yourself that you want to be a certain place, and that thing that you're telling yourself that's not true can't be the same thing because it's not fitting. It does not fit. It's just like now that all the new iPhones has new chargers now, right? I can't put a newer charger into my phone now because I still have the old edition. How do you plan to charge your phone? How do you plan to fuel your life if you're doing old things that does not work? How is that possible? It's not. Why? Because you're looking at it from a lens of victim. You're a victim right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's okay. Maybe you never had the support. Maybe you never had the guidance. Maybe you never had the advice. Maybe you do have the advice, but it's not changing anything. What is it going to take for you to take action to get with the right program that's going to allow you to do that?
Accountability is so powerful. I really it comes down to this is what I've learned through my it's really accountability. For having that accountability is something that's so powerful because like you just said this. We all know what we're supposed to do. Why do you think people hire trainers? Why do you think people I mean it's accountability. It's having the accountability, it's having the support. You could
Mm-hmm.
read, like, even the pastor was saying, like, you know all this stuff about sleep, like all of these things, these are all things you know. But it's called accountability, being accountable. Being in a victim mindset is something that again, it's there's a pendulum swing, right? And I went to the pendulum swing of being in the victim mindset. 100%. That's why I was like, I'm drowning. They're like, what you do? It's shallow water.
Oh, you just sparked something in my
It's shallow water.
like
Stand up.
facts.
But also, wait, hold that thought.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what's important is instead of being the victim, saying, I chose this. So reframing how you're looking at it, of your life, your past, whatever, saying that this is what I've chosen. I chose to be in that relationship. I chose to have those challenges. Or if you're religious, God chose that for me. All of that was happening for me. Who would I be if I didn't go through that? If I didn't choose to go through those things?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
You hit something on the nail. Something that sparked it to me, as you said, the water thing once again. Most times we feel uncomfortable because our body is telling us that we're in the wrong space.
oh, mm-hmm.
The reason why we're frustrated, anxious, mad, upset, sad, frustrated, trying to figure out what's next. After going through that whole process and that journey of not operating your fullest potential in that environment because it was holding you back.
Mm.
Have you ever, you're in this space now, have you ever decided to make the disconnection between what's holding you back and what's propelling you forward? And you decide to leave that situation and you end up just propelling. I almost feel like it's too good to be true. How's all this stuff aligning for me? How is all this stuff happening for me? How's all this stuff complementing the goals that I have for myself 4 or 5 years ago? There's two things. You have to go through it. You have to be aware of it so that when you get there, you have to maintain it. If your phone charger and you're trying to carry it to 2032 and it don't fit into that phone, you out of luck. It's gonna be tough to charge that phone. But if you have a new charger with the new phone, which means this charger represents new ideas, new perspectives, new challenges, new awareness, new opportunities. And you charge your phone, which is yourself, doing the things that you decide to go with, then we got full life. We can last all day. And this charger also represents fulfillment. Without the charger and the phone, your phone is empty. Without the cup with the water, the cup is empty.
Speaking of,
Without you and your purpose, your life is empty.
you said it, purpose. So this isn't a really good. There's a few different things. It's okay. Like let's say you have multiple different roads you're on, right? And you're on the wrong road. You're on the wrong fork. You're on the wrong road, driving the wrong direction.
Yep.
Okay, and you're talking about feeling it in your body and knowing within your body. Again, there's a disconnect. So we're all on different journeys, right? And what's important to know too is like even with me, I wasn't in a place to even be aware, let's say, right? And we have those moments on people's journeys. We can't propel them forward either though. That's what's also important to know is you can't just pull someone from A to Z. There's a process as well, right? And they may not be ready. They may not be ready to hear it. They may be unaware. Like with me, I wasn't ready. I was unaware. I couldn't even hear anything in order to propel myself forward, right? There's all these messages coming through, you couldn't even hear it. That's where the pausing came in and those other tools.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point about being in alignment, right? And synchronicities. Like I sat down I sat down at the table today at Zico Space and I was reflecting on my journal. I wrote all of this out. Like and being just how grateful I am, right? But being okay with making a change that was uncomfortable. That's where I feel like there's a disconnect sometimes, is making that change, because it's unknown, it's uncomfortable, and it can be scary. It's the unknown, but
Yeah,
doing it anyway.
yeah. I think scarcity is a huge component to either do two things for you. It can either hinder you or it can push you to go. It always comes down to your identity with pain. I'm learning. Regurgitating what I'm learning from Ed Milet. These are some of the stuff that he teaches in his speaking engagements. He was like, I coach all types of professionals just like us, but he's at a higher level, obviously. And he works with all these guys, and he worked with a Mr. Olympian, and he won 7 times. Not one, 7 times in a row. And he asked him, he said, let alone you won one, but how in the heck did you win 7? He said, I don't know. I was just disciplined. I was working hard. I was doing this. He said, no. Your identity with pain is completely different from the norm. You embrace pain. You're excited when you're in pain because there's promise at the end of the pain. There's promise at the end of that frustration. There's promise under that situation where it's so tense that you feel like nothing's against you. That's why we teach how to get you outside of survival. Why do you feel like you're fighting for your life right now? And is that sustainable? That's how you breed burnout. You're doing something that's unsustainable on a long period of time and expecting something different to do because you're hanging on a hope rather than taking action. Yo, we're gonna bust a lot of bubbles on this one.
Well, wait, hold on. But okay, you just touched on so many things that, like, ooh. So we talk about burnout, okay?
Yeah.
So this is all a part of this chaos that's created, okay?
Yep.
Whenever you, and I'm gonna talk about myself here, okay?
Yeah.
What whenever, like, what I would do is, like, I had this moment where I'm like, I'm gonna freaking declutter my schedule. Like, let's declutter the schedule. Let's, like, instead of adding more things, let's remove some things, because or else you're on this constant wheel. How can you possibly, how could I have possibly even been aware that I was misaligned? You're not even aware that you're misaligned because you're in, like, I like to call this the matrix. Like, it's like you're in the like, you can't take a step out of it because you're in so much chaos of the matrix.
And
And
you're
it's
trying to forget.
yeah, you're exactly. You don't
Mm-hmm.
want to. It's like with me. Oh my gosh, like, I didn't want to deal. It's easier not to deal with it. Like, it's easier to be. I mean, I wouldn't. It's easier to be in the matrix. Okay, dealing with this stuff is a more difficult choice. You said your tolerance to pain. Oh my gosh. So it's more difficult to. It's a challenging step to take to deal with it. It's easier to avoid it and to be in the matrix and to continue to be busy. However, what comes after that is amazing.
Yep.
I mean,
We have
it's difficult, but then it's amazing.
it is. We're about 2 minutes, and I want to kind of do a cliff note of what we talked about today. And also, I want to give people the call to action so that everybody that tuned in, that popped in, that popped out, that couldn't stay for their entire hour, we want to be able to gift them the gift of our free discovery to see where they are right now. There's no cost to it. Obviously, it says free in the description. It says when you get to the part, it says free discovery. There's no cost to it, right? We just want to be a part of your journey of growth, right? So I want you to kind of go through the cliff notes, get them a synopsis. You got about 30 seconds, and then we're going to close this thing out.
So we talked about unbecoming to becoming. If you're feeling stuck, if you feel like there's something wrong but you don't know what it is, if you need support as a coach, if you need support as a client, coaches need coaches too. Please book a discovery call with us. We love to discover how we can help you.
That was perfect. You could have took my job right there. But listen, guys, I don't know how many times I can say this. The cost of inaction is not worth the result of what you didn't do.
Ooh.
It's not worth it. Why be frustrated for something that you know you got to do? Don't allow procrastination to lead your life. Don't allow hesitation to lead your life. look forward to connecting with you guys very, very soon. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Mwah.
See you guys
Thanks.
later.